I steered my car into the Belmont-Harbor Country Club parking lot. Each cobblestone seemed to pass judgment on my arrival, a quiet thud-thud against the tires of my Tesla. The grand columned clubhouse loomed ahead, a monument to old Crestwood money and the traditions that money protected. It was a fortress of exclusivity. My stomach coiled. I instinctively smoothed down the leg of my light gray jeans. They were designer, tailored, and cost more than a mortgage payment, but they were still denim. The navy blazer I'd paired them with was classic, my loafers Italian leather. I dressed with deliberate care, knowing exactly what waited for me on that sun-drenched terrace. Still, a familiar whisper slithered into my mind. It won't be enough. It never is. I spotted them before they saw me. My father, Vincent, sat ramrod straight in his linen suit, a king surveying his domain. My mother, Lorraine, had pearls gleaming at her throat, her posture rigid. My sister, Camilla, looked like she'd just stepped out of the club's catalog, all pastel perfection. Their faces were arranged in pleasant, neutral expressions for any onlookers, but I recognized the tension in their shoulders. This wasn't a catch-up, as the text had claimed. It was an ambush. A doorman nodded respectfully as I passed. "Good morning, Miss Duval." The click of my loafers against the marble floor echoed through the grand foyer. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across oak-paneled walls. My parents had requested this. Sunday brunch at Belmont-Harbor, where they'd been members for 30 years. Their words, not mine. Father saw me first. His slight frown deepened, his eyes narrowing as they traveled from my face, past my blazer, and landed, inevitably, on my jeans. Mother's lips pursed as if she'd just tasted something sour. Camilla just smirked, a faint anticipatory cruelty in her eyes. She was savoring what was coming. "Odessa," Father said as I reached their table. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried across the terrace with the sharp crack of a whip. "Did you forget this is a respectable establishment?" Conversations at nearby tables paused. The clinking of silverware against fine china stilled. I froze mid-step, the sun warm on my back, a spotlight of humiliation pinning me in place. "If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you." "I'm not sure what you mean, Father," I said, keeping my voice level, neutral. It was a practiced defense. Mother sighed, a dramatic, theatrical sound designed to draw attention. "Really, Odessa, look at yourself." "Jeans. Here." She gestured vaguely at the opulent surroundings. "I specifically told you we were meeting at Belmont-Harbor." "They're Armani, Mother." "They're denim," she snapped, her voice a harsh whisper. "Everyone else here managed to dress appropriately." "You just have no respect," Camilla chimed in, her voice dripping with faux concern. "You look like staff, for heaven's sake. Did you come straight from cleaning your apartment? How embarrassing for you." Heads turned. The whispers started, quiet but distinct. A woman 2 tables over, draped in diamonds, touched her companion's wrist and nodded discreetly in our direction. My cheeks burned, a hot creeping flush of shame. I was 7 years old again, wearing the wrong dress to a cousin's birthday party. I was 13, bringing home a B+ when Camilla had straight A's. I was 22, choosing a college major in computer science that Father deemed unladylike. Always disappointing. Never, ever enough. Father, seeing my flush and the attention we were gathering, pressed his advantage. He raised an imperious hand, snapping his fingers to summon a young waitress who was passing by. She hurried over, her face a mask of nervous politeness. "Excuse me," Vincent said, his tone icy. "Could you check with management about the dress code for the VIP area? Someone here doesn't appear to belong." He didn't even look at me. He looked at the waitress, forcing her to be his accomplice. The waitress glanced at me, then at my father. Her discomfort was palpable. I'm sorry, sir. I'll need to call a manager about that." "Do it," Father commanded, and quickly. My throat constricted. The magnificent room, with its soaring ceilings and wall of windows overlooking Crestwood Harbor, suddenly felt like a cage. Every guest on the terrace was watching now. I was the performer in a humiliating play they had written just for me. "If I'm embarrassing you," I managed, my voice barely audible, "I can leave." Father's eyes flashed with victory. "Good," he said, clipping the word. "This place isn't for people who don't know how to behave." I turned toward the exit, my shoulders hunching, the familiar weight of their victory pressing me down. I just had to get out of the spotlight. I'd taken 2 steps toward the foyer when a gentle hand caught my elbow. I turned, startled. "Miss Duval," said a middle-aged woman in a Belmont-Harbor staff uniform. Her name tag read, Mrs. Holloway. She was the head hostess, a fixture at the club for as long as I could remember. "Just a moment," she said. I recognized her immediately. I'd seen her in the staff office last winter, crying over a stack of bills. Her husband needed expensive medication, and their insurance had denied the coverage. I'd intervened, made some quiet calls, and covered the shortfall anonymously, or so I thought. She stepped closer, speaking softly, for my ears only. "You once helped me pay for my husband's medicine. You never mentioned it again. You just did what was right." Her gray eyes held mine, clear and steady. "Don't let them shame you. Some of us see everything that happens here. Don't you dare let them win." Something inside me shifted. It felt like the grinding of tectonic plates, a deep foundational realignment of my soul. The shame didn't disappear, but something new rose up to meet it. Anger. My spine straightened, inch by inch, until I was standing tall. "Thank you, Mrs. Holloway," I whispered. She nodded once, a quick, sharp acknowledgement, and stepped back, melting into the background. I turned back toward my family. Their expectant faces, so certain of my retreat, told a story I had known my entire life. The story of Odessa Duval, the disappointment, the problem, the one who never quite measured up. But maybe that wasn't the only story. I walked back to their table. The whispers on the terrace grew silent, replaced by a thick, shocked anticipation. I pulled out the empty chair, the legs scraping faintly against the stone, and I took my seat. "I believe I'll stay for brunch after all," I said, my voice clear and carrying. I reached for the heavy linen napkin and placed it on my lap with deliberate, unhurried care. "I'm rather hungry." Mother's eyes widened in disbelief. Camilla's jaw literally dropped, her smirk vanishing. And Father. For perhaps the first time in my entire memory, Vincent Duval appeared momentarily, completely at a loss for words. I lifted the heavy tasseled menu and examined it with a newfound, genuine interest. "The lobster omelet sounds good, don't you think?" Today may have started as their ambush, but I'd just thrown their battle plan into chaos, and I wasn't done. I watched my father's face morph. The fleeting confusion hardened into something darker, a deep, simmering rage. His fingers began to drum against the white tablecloth, a familiar, impatient rhythm. It was the same beat he tapped out when reviewing my disappointing report cards years ago. "This is absolutely unacceptable," he said, his voice low but vibrating with fury. "Jeans. At Belmont Harbor. I've been a member for 30 years and never have I witnessed such a flagrant disregard for standards." Mother, recovering her composure, dabbed her lips with a napkin she hadn't used. "Vincent, perhaps we should speak with management directly. This performance reflects poorly on all of us." "I agree," Camilla added, smoothing her peach-colored dress. She had found her footing again. The dress code exists for a reason. It maintains a certain quality. Father stood up abruptly. His 6'2" frame commanded immediate attention, a skill he'd perfected in boardrooms. He scanned the terrace for staff, his eyes landing on a woman in a manager's suit. He raised his hand imperiously. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice sharp. "We need to speak with management." Immediately, This situation is intolerable. The floor manager approached our table. I recognized her from the personnel files. Naomi Sinclair, the club's executive director. She was in her late 40s, competent and discreet. Her expression revealed nothing as she addressed my father. "Good morning, sir. How may I assist you?" Father gestured toward me, a flick of his hand as if dismissing a piece of trash. "This girl shouldn't be here. She's violating your dress code and creating a scene. Call the owner. Call them immediately." Camilla smirked, crossing her arms. "Someone's about to be escorted out." My throat tightened. The familiar weight of their disapproval, their absolute certainty in their power, pressed against my chest. For a fleeting moment, I considered surrendering, walking out the door, and sparing everyone the scene Father was so determined to create. But Mrs. Holloway's words echoed in my mind. "Don't let them shame you." Naomi Sinclair's professional mask didn't slip. "I understand there's a concern, sir. The owner is actually on site today. I will be happy to address this matter." "Good," Mother said, straightening her pearl necklace. "Someone needs to maintain standards around here." "Then get the owner," Father demanded, buttoning his jacket. "We'll see what they think about this flagrant disrespect for the club's rules." Naomi's expression remained perfectly neutral. "I've already spoken with the owner, sir." "And?" Vincent demanded. "What did they say?" A beat of pure, heavy silence followed. The air on the terrace felt thin. Naomi Sinclair turned, slowly, to look directly at me. There was something in her eyes, not deference, but respect. "Miss Duval," she said, her voice clear and carrying, "is the legal owner of the Belmont-Harbor Country Club." The words landed like a thunderclap in the still, sunny air. Silverware clattered against china as my mother dropped her fork. It bounced once before landing on the stone floor. Camilla's mouth formed a perfect silent O of astonishment. Father froze. His hand, which had been gesturing dismissively, remained suspended mid-air. He looked like a statue, all his arrogant momentum brought to a dead halt. I met Naomi's gaze and gave a slight, appreciative nod. "Thank you, Naomi. Perhaps we should continue this conversation in your office." "Of course, Miss Duval." "This is absurd," Father sputtered, color rushing into his face. He finally lowered his hand. "What kind of ridiculous joke is this? Odessa?" I stood, straightening my blazer. The denim of my jeans felt like armor. "It's not a joke, Father." You cannot possibly own Belmont-Harbor," Mother whispered, her eyes darting around wildly, checking to see who was listening. The answer, of course, was everyone. "Follow me, please," Naomi said, gesturing with calm authority toward the main building. As I passed, Camilla grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. "What are you doing?" she hissed, her face a mask of confusion and fury. "You're going to humiliate us all." "No," I said quietly, removing her hand from my blazer. "That was your specialty today." We followed Naomi down the hushed, oak-paneled hallway toward the administrative offices. The familiar portraits of founding members, stern, wealthy men from Crestwood's past, lined the corridor. I felt their painted eyes judging our procession. Naomi's office was like her, organized, tasteful, and effective. She indicated the seating area, where her assistant, Maya Allen, had already arranged files on the polished conference table. "Please," Naomi said, gesturing to the chairs. Father remained standing, his hands clenched at his sides. "I demand an explanation. Now." Maya Allen opened the top portfolio. "The documentation is quite clear, sir," she said, her voice crisp. "The Belmont-Harbor Country Club was acquired 9 months ago for $16.4 million. It was listed as a distressed property following significant financial mismanagement by the previous board." Naomi continued. "The purchaser was Duval Assets LLC, with Miss Odessa Duval as the sole managing partner. We are currently $6.7 million into a capital improvement and restoration project." Camilla shook her head violently, as if to dislodge the words. "This is impossible. You You can barely manage your own life. How could you possibly— You just tried to have the owner of this property removed, I interrupted, my voice steady, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. Not for breaking a rule, but for wearing jeans. Perhaps that's worth considering before you continue. Father sank into one of the leather chairs. His face, usually so ruddy, was ashen. Mother stared at the documents on the table as if they were written in a language she couldn't comprehend. For 31 years, they had defined me by their narrow expectations. The quiet tech girl, the disappointment, the one who would never amount to anything significant. Now, sitting across from them, the weight of their judgment felt suddenly, miraculously, irrelevant. A strange, unfamiliar feeling bloomed in my chest. I thought it might be freedom. Father's face reddened as he stared at the membership files spread across Naomi's desk. The veins in his neck bulged against his starched collar. This must be some mistake. He slammed his palm on the polished mahogany. I'll have my attorney review every single detail of this so-called acquisition. Nobody buys a place like Belmont-Harbor without word getting around Crestwood. I remained seated, my hands folded calmly in my lap. The familiar knot in my stomach had transformed. It wasn't fear anymore. It was resolve, hardening like concrete. "There's no mistake, Father," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The sale was kept quiet at the previous owner's request. They were facing bankruptcy, and it was a condition I respected. Mother leaned forward, her pearls swinging. "Darling," she said, her voice trembling, "you can't possibly run a place like this. It's a Crestwood institution. The responsibility, the social obligations, which I've been handling for 9 months," I finished for her, without anyone noticing, including you. Camilla paced the office like a caged animal. "You did this to humiliate us, didn't you? You knew we'd been members for 30 years, and you bought it to— What? Prove a point?" "I bought a distressed property as an investment," I replied, my voice cold. The fact that it was Belmont-Harbor was a coincidence. It wasn't, not entirely, but she didn't need to know that. Father's eyes narrowed to slits. "How did you even afford this? 16.4 million? His tone was accusatory, as if I must have stolen it. "My tech startup sold last year," I said simply. "I've been diversifying my portfolio." The words hung in the air, thick and heavy. I had never told them about the sale. They had never asked about my work, not really, not beyond playing with computers. The silence stretched, filled with 3 decades of dismissal, of being overlooked, of being underestimated. I turned my attention back to Naomi, who stood poised near the door. "Naomi, what does the club rulebook say about member conduct?" She stepped forward, professional and composed. "Article 7.2, Miss Duval. It covers conduct damaging to the club's reputation or atmosphere. Specifically, public behavior that creates disturbances, embarrasses other members, or reflects poorly on Belmont-Harbor standards." "And what is the procedure for such a violation?" I asked. "The incident must be documented with witness statements," Naomi recited, clearly having prepared for this. "A temporary suspension can be issued immediately by management, followed by a full review from the Compliance and Discipline Committee within 14 days. "And the committee's power?" "The committee," Naomi concluded, "then determines if the suspension should be lifted, extended, or converted to permanent revocation." "Let's follow it," I said, my voice quiet but absolute. "To the letter." Maggie, who had been taking notes on her tablet, nodded and slipped out of the office. Father's laugh was sharp and brittle. "This is absurd. We are founding members. Your family." "You are members who violated club policy," I corrected him. "Your status doesn't exempt you from the rules. It should mean you set the standard." I stood up slowly, feeling a strange, cold calm settle over me. For my entire life, I had navigated the minefield of their expectations, watching every step, bracing for the inevitable explosion of disapproval. But owning this space, not just the legal deed to Belmont Harbor, but owning my own self-worth, had shifted something fundamental. For 31 years, I said, my voice low but clear, cutting through his bluster, I have let you treat me as less than Camilla, less than your expectations, less than worthy of basic respect. Mother's face crumpled in practiced distress. That's not true, Odessa. We only ever wanted what was best for you. Today, I cut her off, something I had never done before. Today, you tried to have me physically removed from my own property, not because I violated a single rule, because my jeans are Armani and the dress code only forbids torn or frayed denim, but because I didn't meet your personal standards of appearance, because I embarrassed you. Father rose, towering over the desk. Over. You watch your tone, young lady. I will not be spoken to like this. That ends today, I continued, as if he hadn't spoken. Your membership privileges at this club are suspended, effective immediately. You can't do this, he roared, his face flushing a deep, dangerous crimson. I can, I said. I am. I pressed the intercom button on the desk. Naomi, could you come in, please? The door opened promptly. Naomi entered, followed by Maya, and behind them, waiting in the doorway, was Mrs. Holloway, her gray eyes steady and resolute. Mrs. Holloway, I asked, my voice formal, would you be willing to provide a statement to Miss Allen about what you witnessed on the terrace this morning? She stepped forward past my father. I'd be happy to, Miss Duval. Her voice was firm. I observed Mr. and Mrs. Duval publicly humiliating their daughter. I heard Mr. Duval attempting to have her removed from the premises simply for her attire. Miss Camilla Renair, she nodded toward my sister, participated in the verbal harassment as well. The doors opened again and 2 uniformed security officers entered. They were new hires I'd brought on, part of my overhaul. They stood at attention, polite and imposing. File the minutes of this incident, I instructed Naomi. Issue a formal 30-day interim suspension for all 3 parties, pending the full committee review. Naomi nodded. I will forward the complete file, including Mrs. Holloway's statement and the security report, to the Compliance and Discipline Committee within 24 hours. You will supervise the review, of course, I added, looking at her, to avoid any conflict of interest on my part. This is outrageous, Father sputtered, looking between me and the security officers. I've been a member here since before you were born. Which means, I said, you've had ample time to learn the rules. And you still chose to break them. I gestured to the security officers. These gentlemen will escort you to collect your belongings from the locker rooms, if any, and then to your vehicles. Mother's tears began to flow freely now, real tears of shock and humiliation. Odessa, you can't do this to your own family. Think of what people will say. I'm not doing anything to you, I corrected her, my patience gone. I am enforcing the rules you broke, the same rules you've expected everyone else to follow for 30 years. Maya handed each of them a formal printed notice detailing the suspension and the upcoming review. Camilla grabbed hers, looked at it, and crumpled it into a tight ball. You are making a terrible mistake, she hissed, her eyes filled with a venom I'd never seen, even from her. No, I shook my head. For the first time in my life, I'm not. The security officers stepped forward. Sir, ma'am. If you'll come with us, please. Father looked as if he might refuse, as if he might actually try to fight. The air crackled with his rage, but after a long, tense moment, he looked at me, at Naomi, at the officers, and he knew he was beaten. With trembling fingers, he buttoned his jacket. As they reached the door, I spoke one last time, my voice echoing in the quiet office. No one deserves to be disrespected just because they don't fit someone else's idea of belonging. That applies to everyone who enters Belmont Harbor, member, staff, or guest. After they were gone, I sank back into my chair. The office was silent except for the ticking of an antique clock. Through the window, I watched them cross the parking lot, Mother leaning heavily on Father's arm, Camilla stomping ahead, her shoulders rigid with fury. 31 years of criticism, dismissal, and conditional love, all embodied in those three figures growing smaller in the distance. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my apartment windows, but I felt a new kind of chill. Annalise Reed, my attorney, arrived precisely at 9 a.m. Her charcoal suit and no-nonsense demeanor were exactly why I'd hired her. She placed a stack of documents on my kitchen counter. "Coffee?" I asked, already pouring. "Black, thank you." She accepted the mug and opened her portfolio. "I've reviewed everything. Your actions yesterday fully comply with both the Belmont-Harbor bylaws and South Carolina state law." I exhaled, a slow release of breath I hadn't realized I was holding. "So they can't sue me?" "Oh, they can try," Annalise said with a thin smile, "but they have no legal standing to win. The suspension follows proper procedure to the letter. The committee will make their final determination independently, and given the witnesses, your family is in a very weak position." "My father has influential friends," I said, the words heavy with the memory of decades of witnessed power plays. "Friends on the board in this city." Annalise's expression remained impassive. "Friends don't override bylaws, and they certainly don't override surveillance footage, which I assume Naomi has secured." "Yes, she confirmed it this morning. The terrace has full coverage." "Good." Annalise nodded. "That's your ironclad defense. But be prepared, Odessa. Your father is a brawler. He's not going to take this lying down. His attorneys already sent a demand letter to my office this morning. They are formally requesting copies of all witness statements and the complete unedited surveillance footage from the terrace." "Give it to them?" I asked. "Not yet," she said. "We provide it to the committee." "Let the committee provide it to your father's legal team. We follow procedure. Every step, by the book. This isn't a family squabble anymore, Odessa. It's a legal proceeding." 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Naomi Sinclair, and her voice was tight with an anxiety I'd never heard from her before. "Odessa, we have a problem. A serious one." My stomach dropped. "What is it?" "The footage," she said, and I could hear the frustration in her voice. "The surveillance footage from the terrace, from Sunday morning, it's gone." "Gone? What do you mean, gone? It's a digital system." "I mean gone," she stressed. "Our IT director just came to my office. There was a sudden and catastrophic system failure precisely at 11 a.m. on Sunday, lasting until 1 p.m. The hard drive partition for that 2-hour block was corrupted, completely overwritten, wiped clean." I gripped the phone, my knuckles turning white. "That's not a failure, Naomi. That's sabotage." "I know," she said, her voice low and furious. "I've checked the access logs. Our IT director, a man who's been here for 15 years, logged in remotely from off-site 30 minutes before the crash to perform unscheduled maintenance. He's suddenly taken an emergency leave of absence. I can't reach him. I knew my father's signature. He couldn't win on the facts, so he'd destroyed them. He'd found a weak link, someone he could pressure or pay off, and he'd eliminated my primary evidence." "So," I said, thinking aloud, "it's no longer a legal proceeding. It's back to being a family squabble. My word and Mrs. Holloway's word against the word of Vincent, Lorraine, and Camilla Duval." "Odessa, I'm so sorry. I should have—" "It's not your fault, Naomi. He's been doing this his whole life. Find the one loyalist and exploit them. Keep me updated." I hung up the phone and stared out the window. The sense of freedom I'd felt was gone, replaced by a cold, familiar dread. He was going to win. Again. The moment the wind shifted, the animals knew. My phone, which had been ominously silent, lit up like a Christmas tree. A text from Camilla. "Heard your little video disappeared." Funny how that happens. Dad's friends on the committee are already handling this. You should really stop this before you embarrass yourself even more. A missed call from Mother, then another. Then a voicemail, her voice pitched high with practiced distress. "Odessa, darling, your father's blood pressure is through the roof. Is that what you wanted? To put him in the hospital? This has gone on long enough. Call me back immediately." And then an email from Father's attorney to Annalise, which she forwarded to me without comment. Subject: Reed Duval membership suspension. Miss Reed, given that your client is unable to produce the primary evidence, surveillance footage, requested for the committee review, we must assume it was either non-existent or, more likely, exculpatory. We fully expect the committee to dismiss this baseless suspension. We are further advising our clients on a potential countersuit against Ms. Duval and Belmont-Harbor LLC for defamation and harassment. My hands were shaking. He wasn't just going to win, he was going to bury me. I was pacing my apartment, my mind racing, trying to find a way out. My startup sale. Could I buy out the committee members? No, that was his tactic. I wouldn't become him just to beat him. My phone rang. It was Annalise. "Don't panic," she said, her voice sharp. "I'm past panic, Annalise. I'm in writing my own obituary territory." "Then stop," she said. "A package just arrived at my office. A courier. No return address." Inside was a single encrypted USB drive and a note. A note? It said, "Heard you had some bad luck with your video. Try this one. I had my tech guys scan it and sweep it. It's clean. And Odessa, it's everything." "What do you mean, everything?" "I mean, it's the entire incident. High definition. Not just from the main terrace camera, but from a second angle. A security camera from the bar shooting through the window. It's even clearer. It captures your mother's expression, your sister's smirk. It captures your father. Odessa, it's devastating." I sank onto my sofa. Who? Who sent it? The drive was anonymous, but there was another note tucked into the packaging. Just 2 lines. I waited. Annalise read, "Vincent Duval is a sinking ship. I'm placing my bet on the new flagship. J." I froze. I cycled through the names. Jackson? No. James? No. Then it hit me. Jeremy. Camilla's husband. The corporate attorney who had married into the family and had been riding my father's coattails for a decade. Jeremy. He must have had his own access to the security system, or his own contact. He had watched my father self-destruct, watched me take ownership, and made a cold, calculated corporate decision. He wasn't saving me. He was betraying his wife and her family to secure his own position with the new power at the club. It wasn't an act of kindness. It was an act of absolute, chilling opportunism. "Annalise," I said, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face, "send that file to the committee, immediately." Armed with the new, irrefutable video evidence, the Compliance and Discipline Committee convened. Annalise presented the case. She didn't have to be theatrical. She just played the video. The committee, composed of 5 long-standing, respected members of the club, watched in silence. They saw my father's aggressive posture. They heard his command to call the owner. They saw my mother's look of disdain and my sister's cruel smirk. They saw Mrs. Holloway step in. They saw me handle the situation with a calm they had not expected. The deliberation, Naomi told me later, was brief. Their verdict arrived in a sealed envelope on my desk one Wednesday morning. I opened it with a steady hand. Finding. The committee finds that Vincent Duval, Lorraine Duval, and Camilla Renaire, associate, did violate Article 7.2 of the club bylaws. Decision. Permanent membership revocation for Vincent and Lorraine Duval. Associate status for Camilla Renaire is terminated, effective immediately. Note. A 30-day appeal window is granted as per the bylaws. I signed the formal notification letters myself. My signature didn't waver. It flowed across each page with unwavering, definitive clarity. I sent them via registered mail. The appeal window had opened, but no appeals were filed. Instead, my sister showed up. A week later, the glass elevator in my office building offered a perfect view of Crestwood Harbor. Normally, I savored the moment, but not today. The doors opened to reveal Camilla, pacing my reception area like a trapped animal. "You're early," I said, stepping off. My sister whirled around. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her normally perfect caramel hair disheveled. Camilla without perfect hair was like seeing a cardinal in winter, startling and wrong. "This couldn't wait," her voice cracked. My assistant Danny glanced up with concern. "It's fine, Danny," I said, nodding toward my office. "Let's talk privately, Camilla." She followed me, collapsing into one of the leather chairs as soon as my office door clicked shut. The polished glass and chrome of my workspace seemed to amplify her disarray. "Mom hasn't left the house in 2 weeks," she blurted, tears spilling onto her cheeks. "Dad is devastated. His blood pressure is so high the doctor added another medication." I remained standing, arms folded. "That's unfortunate." "Unfortunate?" Camilla sprang up from the chair. "The Thompsons uninvited them from their anniversary gala. Dad's golf partners suddenly have schedule conflicts. All of them. Mom's charity committee suggested she take a break until things settle down." "Those are the natural consequences of their actions, Camilla." "Is your revenge worth destroying our family name?" Her voice rose, her hands trembling. "The Duval name means something in this town, Odessa, or it did before you decided to publicly humiliate our parents." "I didn't humiliate them," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "I held them accountable. They did the rest themselves." "Do you even hear yourself? After everything they sacrificed for us?" "What exactly did they sacrifice, Camilla?" Her mouth opened, then closed. She tried again. "They gave us everything." "They gave us things," I shot back. "Not support, not acceptance." The phone on my desk buzzed. I ignored it. "This isn't just about them now," Camilla said, switching tactics. "Uncle Robert called me. Aunt Patricia, too. Pastor Williams wants to meet about forgiveness and healing the family rift. How convenient that everyone is so concerned now. Because they care about this family. No, because Father called them and told them to." My phone buzzed again. Camilla glanced at it, then back at me, her anger dissolving back into desperation. "You've made your point, Odessa," she said softly. "You've shown everyone you have the power now. Isn't that enough?" Her words struck deeper than she knew. Was that what I was doing? Wielding power just because I could? The thought left me cold. "I need to take this call," I said, reaching for the phone. "We can talk later." Camilla grabbed her purse, her face hardening again. "Just remember, when you're sitting alone in your big, empty club, we're still your family." Her parting shot lingered long after she'd slammed the door. That night, alone in my apartment, I stared at a framed photo on my bookshelf. A family portrait from when I was 10. Camilla and I in matching dresses, Mother's hand resting possessively on my shoulder, Father standing tall and proud behind us all. Was I too harsh? The weight of a lifetime of conditioning. Maintain family harmony, don't make waves, be the good daughter, pressed down on me. My hand hovered over my phone. One call to Camilla, one concession. The family would close ranks, the tension would dissipate. But at what cost? I set down the photo and pulled an old leather-bound book from my bottom drawer, my childhood diary. Its pages were yellowed, the handwriting evolving from a childish scrawl to a precise, angry script. October 12th, 2003. Dad said my science fair project was adequate, even though I won first place. He told Mr. Henderson I must have had a lot of help. June 8th, 2008. Mom told Grandma Wilson I was finally looking presentable at my 8th grade graduation. Everyone laughed. May 15th, 2015, college graduation. Mom said, "Well, at least you finished." Dad complained about missing his golf game for the ceremony. December 21st, 2019. Told the family about my venture capital funding. Camilla immediately changed the subject to Jeremy's promotion. Dad said, "Playing with computers isn't real work, Odessa." Page after page, a meticulous record of small cruelties, casual dismissals, and the steady, acidic drip of disappointment that had eroded my sense of worth for decades. I closed the diary, certainty hardening within me like amber. "No more," I whispered to the empty room. "Their problems are not my responsibility to solve." 3 days later, we met at a neutral location, a private dining room at the Carlton Hotel downtown. I arrived first, selecting a seat that faced the door. Father entered like he was storming a boardroom, which I supposed he was. Mother and Camilla trailed in his wake. He didn't sit. "This has gone on long enough, Odessa," he announced, as if declaring the matter closed. I remained seated. "Hello to you too, Father." Mother dabbed at her eyes with a lace handkerchief. "After everything we've done for you, the sacrifices we made." "You've always been selfish," Camilla added, her arms crossed. "But this is beyond anything." The accusations piled up, a familiar script. I let them wash over me, a storm I'd weathered 1,000 times. I neither defended myself nor attacked. I simply waited. When they finally exhausted themselves, a heavy silence fell. "I accept," I said quietly, "that this is how you see me." Father frowned. This wasn't the script he expected. I was supposed to be crying, begging for forgiveness. "I'm not here to negotiate," I continued, my voice calm. "The committee's decision is final. It stands. Now, see here," Father began. "I won't discuss it further," I cut him off. "This meeting is a courtesy, not an obligation. Your fight is with the club's bylaws, which you broke." Mother's lips trembled. "But where will we go? Everyone in Crestwood knows what happened." "You're free to join other clubs," I said, not unkindly. "Crestwood has many." "You can't just cut us off," Camilla protested, her voice small. "Our relationship," I said, and this was the most important part, "is entirely up to you." I met each of their eyes in turn. But moving forward, it will be based on mutual respect, or it won't exist at all. I stood, smoothing my skirt. Father's face flushed crimson. Mother's tears flowed freely. Camilla stared at me as if I'd grown a second head. "You're making a terrible mistake," Father warned, his voice a low growl. "No," I said with a quiet certainty that was bone deep. "I'm correcting one that's gone on for far too long." I placed a $100 bill on the table for the coffee I'd ordered. Then I walked out of the room without looking back, my steps light, the weight of their disapproval finally, blessedly, lifted from my shoulders. I walked out into the bright afternoon sunlight. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running from my family's judgment. I was walking toward something better. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Jeremy. "Heard the meeting was a success. Smart play. Let me know if you'd like to discuss the club's investment portfolio. I have some ideas." I smiled, a cold, sharp smile. I typed back a single word. "No." I knew his type. He was just like my father, only younger. I had no intention of letting one predator out just to let another one in. I blocked his number. 6 months transformed Belmont Harbor. The terrace, once the scene of my humiliation, now bloomed with fresh, modern flower arrangements as I wove between tables at our annual charity gala. I was no longer an outsider in jeans. I was the woman who had revitalized this institution. "Miss Duval," Naomi whispered, tablet in hand as I passed. "The silent auction numbers are impressive. We've already doubled last year's total. The scholarship fund is fully endowed." "That's excellent, Naomi. Thank you." The grand ballroom gleamed under new, elegant chandeliers. The oppressive, dark wood walls had been painted a warm, inviting cream. The staff moved with purpose, their uniforms redesigned for comfort and style. "Membership applications are up 18% last quarter," Naomi added, allowing herself a small smile, and staff turnover has dropped to almost 0. The numbers told a story others might miss. When I'd purchased Belmont-Harbor, employee morale was at rock bottom. Now, genuine smiles had replaced the forced, fearful politeness. I paused at the terrace doorway, the exact spot where my family had tried to have me removed. Members greeted me with genuine warmth, not cold assessment. "Miss Duval, beautiful evening." Mr. Patterson, a retired judge, lifted his glass. "Best gala this club has seen in 20 years. Mrs. Holloway, now in a smart suit with a badge reading Hospitality Director, approached me. 6 months ago, she was a hostess whose small act of kindness had provided my turning point. "The kitchen staff wanted me to pass on their thanks for the new equipment," she said. "They said it makes a world of difference." "They deserve tools that work," I smiled. She studied me, her eyes crinkling at the corners. "You've changed this place, Miss Duval. People feel valued now. They feel safe." We both knew what remained unspoken. Vincent and Lorraine Duval had joined the Palmetto Oaks Country Club across town last month. We heard it was adequate. Camilla texted occasionally. Tentative, shallow messages about the weather or asking if I'd received a holiday card. The raw wounds had begun to scar over, but they would always be there. I excused myself and climbed the stairs to the quiet balcony overlooking the harbor. The sunset painted the water copper and gold. Below, laughter and music drifted up from the guests mingling on the lawn. For 31 years, I had chased an approval that should have been freely given. I had measured my worth against their impossible, shifting standards, believing the lie that setting a boundary was selfish. Now I understood. Respect isn't something you demand or beg for. It's what arrives when you finally choose what's right, even when that choice costs you. A young server, new to the staff, came to refill my water glass. Her name tag read Jasmine. Her hands were trembling slightly. "Everything all right?" I asked gently. She hesitated, then blurted, "May I ask you something, Miss Duval?" I gestured to the empty chair beside me. "My family," she started, then swallowed. They say I'm throwing my life away by going to college for computer science. They say I should stay home, get a job, and help with my younger siblings instead, that I'm being selfish." The weight in her voice, the familiar burden of guilt echoed in my own chest. "Jasmine," I said, turning to her, "your life belongs to you, not to them. Their disappointment is their problem to solve, not yours." Her eyes widened. No one ever told me that before. "Someone should have," I smiled. "Don't let them shame you. Go to college, and when you graduate, come and find me. My other company is always hiring." I paused. "In the meantime, you should apply for our new staff scholarship program. Naomi has the details." After Jasmine left, her shoulders visibly lighter, I sipped my water and watched the sunset deepen. A profound peace settled over me, as comfortable as a familiar shawl. Mrs. Holloway joined me for a moment, gazing out at the harbor. "Justice finally came back around," she observed. "Justice never left," I replied. "People just forgot what it looks like." She nodded, a deep understanding passing between us, and returned to her duties. I remained on the balcony, glass in hand, breathing in the salt-tinged air. The sun sank lower, painting the last of the clouds in shades of violet and rose. A different woman stood here now, one who finally understood that her worth wasn't determined by anyone's opinion but her own. The light faded. I didn't. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.